Welcome to Alpha Wolf Capital. I'm Tim, and I want to personally thank you for stopping by. This channel is designed to help small companies, both public and private, gain exposure with potential consumers, investors, even partners. Take, for example, today's guest, CEO Dennis Calvert of Biolargo. Biolargo is the epitome of what I would consider to be an impact stock. They have several shots on goal that could be $1 billion plus opportunities. One is the forever chemicals that are in our water supply that need to be removed. The other is uh, Clera, which is for surgical rooms and stopping infections. And then there is the one we're going to be highlighting today, which is Biolargo Energy and their new innovative battery. But I'm going to let Dennis tell you more about the benefits of their battery in just a moment. This video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. I am not a financial advisor. I recommend highly that before buying any security, you speak to a financial advisor and do your own due diligence.
Yeah, and make sure you got it. 140 million generates 500 million a year, throwing off 16% net. Okay, and remember, if you do it in America, there's basically 10% for manufacturing credit and 30% for deployed energy credit, 40% tax credit. And the project could pay for itself in about a year and a half. Are you kidding me? Okay, so we looked at that and we said, what we should do is leverage our core competency of engineering, science, creative financing, great technology, partnering, and find the right partners. Let's find the right partners who want to be in the battery business. So who is that? That could be land developers, energy park developers, data centers, renewable energy, economic development, tribal nations, kingdoms. Okay, this is global. This is not doesn't have to be in America. We can go anywhere. Who wants to be in the battery business? We can put them in the battery business. And we can, and so why are batteries so critical? Well, batteries enable you to migrate to what's called microgrid development. Microgrid development. What's that? What's microgrid development? Microgrid development is a self-sustaining grid. It has a source of energy, a storage, and the ability to deliver and receive in a unit that does not rely on the master grid. That's a microgrid. Microgrid decentralized energy is the future. Microgrids are going to be everywhere. Microgrid could be in an off-grid home who supplies the compound. That's a microgrid. Well, how about a city? How about an industrial park? How about an energy park? Right? Now, of course, we think that a lot of them will plug into the big grid because the grid likes to offload its excess and they want that balancing capability. And that's what microgrids can do as well. So there's a lot of incentive. Anyway, the punchline of this story is just imagine that we put all this together and we find partners and we get to go in the manufacturing business for batteries. And by the way, I just want to point out we're doing some collaborative. We've got a number of testers that we're working on the next step of moving forward with, including the Department of Energy through their national labs, which is awesome. And in the DOE program, they have this loan program. It's really basically cheap loans, plus the land development program, where if you can do a concession and you can capitalize it, they'll give you these incredible leases for land. Okay, and the reason I mention that is because they have such a huge federal incentive to see companies like us succeed. If we want to go that route, those are options for capitalization. Okay, they want you to win. They need you to win so bad that they have incentives to support you. Okay, this is not just a USA issue. This is all over the world. Okay,
Right.
so we come in and say, we don't need to own it all. We just want a piece. But we want to leverage those financing tools to supply a service, which is the engineer, procure, and construct, the design, the provisioning, the implementation of all the components, the transfer of technology to allow that business unit that's financed as a general partnership with a limited partnership structure to capitalize itself and go out and generate $500 million a year. Well, how many can you do of those? Hundreds, hundreds, right? This is the difference in the way we think about the business, and most companies don't. And of course, we look at it and say, you know, I had an institutional investor the other day. He said, "Well, if you had all the money, wouldn't you just want to own everything?" And I said, "What? So I can own a factory? What? How about we have 19% of 300 factories?" I mean, why are we limiting ourselves to that kind of thinking? Because that balance sheet issue and the time required to execute on these is pretty significant, like 2.5 years. Now, these are markets where this stuff can really work. They're all over. We covered them: microgrids, EV charging, ultimately next to the house if you want to do that. Okay, here's the put ups. All right, these are the kind of designs that you see in the marketplace. So again, I just want to focus that we're not doing EV charging batteries. We're not doing.
Hey there, folks. I want to tell you about a new app that I am very excited about. If you want to up your investing game with Wall Street wisdom, stay informed, save time, and gain an edge, then you're going to want to check out this app, StockPick. You can discover pro tips from top investors and expert curated financial news, all in quick video short form clips. I've been using this app and I got to tell you, I love it. I am extremely impressed with the quality of the content. It keeps me informed, and I have to tell you, I've used all kinds of comparable services out there. This one is priced at 79 US. It is a steal of a deal. And right now, on top of that, you can get an additional 25% off. I'm telling you, folks, I think you're going to love this app. Go to the description of this video and find the link. Make sure you use my code to get that 25% off.
Mobility, motorcycles. We're not doing all that. What we're doing is grid scale, 20-foot trailers, 2 megawatt hours. So big scale, okay? That can handle, that can be fixed, insulated, protected, capture the heat, let them run for 20 years. Okay. Now so here's a rule of thumb. If you go into the solar business and somebody has, let's call it, a megawatt hour of solar, they need a megawatt hour of storage. If they got 50 megs, they need 50 megs of storage. Because what happens is storage allows you to optimize, right? The inputs, the outputs, the balancing, so that you can capture the economy that's available. If you have, let's call it 100 megawatts of solar and there's no sun, now what you got? Okay, that's one. The other is, what if the demand is greater and you need to respond to peak demand? That's battery storage. That's what battery storage does for the intermittency issue associated with renewable energy. Okay, so we're a big part of the solution. Anyway, and then here's our little factory. And again, we call it a pilot manufacturing facility. It's pretty high tech. It's manual though, right? It's not automated. This is techs handling things from station to station to build a cell. And it did take us little over a year to reproduce these cells, and we're proud of it. And then basically, we're right here in this. We're scaling up, and we're making licensing partnerships. And I want you to see this over to the right. That's a grid scale battery farm. Okay, and we're going to be in that business. That's our future. Okay, that's our future. And I think that's it. Let me see. Yeah, and then that's our story. So what do you think? What do you want to talk about? We covered a lot.
I mean, so right now, where you're at, you're in the process. You know internally that it works.
We
You
do.
just get the third party validation,
Well, we
which
got to get the third party. Yeah. Meaning credible enough. And again, it's not, the way to think about it is there's a lot of work to do. So don't miss that. And if you said I'm going to build a factory tomorrow, that's a 2.5 year process. I mean, you got a lot of work to do. So what we need to do as a company is provide enough evidence so that our partners who are trusting us to show up with a working manufacturing facility to produce those cells are going to do it. And so that's what we're working on, and the financing, right? So you got a couple of pieces of the puzzle need to fall in place. We've got some great, wonderful financing for a major portion of these projects. Plus, remember, the government's putting out money like crazy. And so there's an equity component, there's a timing issue. And in each of these opportunities, we're essentially asking ourselves, where does that equity come from? Does it come from investors? Does it come from federal funding? This can be structured in loans. What's the reason for us to be in this location? And what kind of resources can we get to pull behind that project? Think about it this way. If you're going to go into a foreign country, what are you doing? You're empowering them to be a player in the energy field. It's huge, okay? And they've got resources, and we have demonstrated over almost 20 years a discipline in the way that we manage money to be able to be trustworthy, to put the money to work and deliver what we say. And by the way, we have a big vision. It's not for sissies. This is a lot of work, okay? And so when we say, well, we're willing to do the work, we've demonstrated that over and over, and we have the technical capability to really hold ourselves out as experts in the field and deliver. So now it's about, okay, we've got a great strategy. We want 19% in a royalty. Fine. So 81% is available for the investor. How many you want to build? Let's go. How many you want to build? How many batteries do you need? We need a lot. Okay, well, then we need a big factory. Okay,
Yeah.
well, we get that done. So anyway,
And you need that, and you need those factories all over the globe, not just the US.
the international appetite for what we're doing is amazing because in America is awesome because of the tax credits. It's such a good system. Those tax credits have secondary markets. There's companies buying tax credits before you generate them. I've never seen anything like it. And so that's a tribute to the government. What they've done is they create these incentives that are so powerful. Now it's a business. You have to understand how to capture them, use them, trade them, convert them to cash, right? You have to have access to capital. We were looking at, we're studying in fact, the DOE loan program, which really kind of starts at about 100 million. Okay, so you got to have financial wherewithal just to be in the game if you're going to play at that level. They don't want to do $20 million deals. They want to see scale. I think they've got over 60 billion to put to work over the next 10 or 15 years. I mean, it's a crazy number, a crazy number. And so again, we look at that and we say, perhaps that fits in our capital stack, but what we really don't want to be is the financier of such a massive infrastructure. We want to be the toolkit provider that can say to the marketplace, I can show you how to generate $500 million a year and make 17% and supply tools to be microgrid developers for the rest of your career. Now, how many would you like? That's what we're doing. Okay. And that's different. Most of the companies that are in the battery manufacturing business, they've spent anywhere from $250 million to maybe $500 million.
So we took a look at the one company, EOS, right? Is that?
Yeah. I like them a lot. They've got a great battery. It's a zinc battery. And when you look at the stats, and again, it took them 10 years and a lot of money. I mean, it's a lot of work.
They're still burning through 136 million a year, and I think they got about 53 million in cash. So,
Well, they signed a deal with Cerebus Partners, so they've got access to capital on demand, but that comes with a price, right?
right.
Right. And so they're not going to go broke. That's fine. And they have a big vision and they got a nice battery. It's a nice battery, but it's not the battery with the specs that we talk about. And it's not the battery that's going to fill the gap for long duration.
Only the importance of the density portion of that.
Yeah, it's basically punch for your square footage kind of thing. It's like how much can you push out of this thing? And we get a extraordinarily high energy density for a small footprint. And so that's good. And then the other is the voltage, right? So, and it's efficient. It's an efficiency. We can discharge, we go to 100% charge and we go to zero and there's no degradation. These other batteries can't do that.
Which
So
is aggravating. I mean, I don't know about you, but plugging in your cell phone and then it maxes out at 80%. And of course, that pisses me off because it seems like my battery drains so damn fast that I've constantly got to have it on a charger almost, right? I
and
mean,
that phenomenon happens with all lithium batteries. It's just the nature of the beast because what happens is there's this ion exchange across a membrane, and as that pattern is replicating, it leaves some degradation across the surface of an electrode. often called a dendrite. And those dendrites build up when you look at them under a microscope, they're like little microscopic spikes. And so, when it starts, it's all smooth and get great conductivity across the electrode. Spikes inhibit conductivity. So over time, as the spikes build up, your battery can't charge as much. It's not complicated. It's just the way it is. And so most batteries have that phenomenon. It's like, I always say, you buy a car now, they're pretty much engineered to last 10 years. Nobody wants to make a 20-year car anymore. Well, the same thing's going on with batteries. So we look at it and say a 20-year battery for long duration, that's probably the minimum. At one point, and again, I don't want to key in on this, but I said to our engineers, I said, in theory, since we don't have internal degradation, we should make space batteries. And they all laughed. They said, that's a good idea. And I'm like, wait a minute, we're not ready for space batteries. Let's get some long duration first. But the point is, if there's no environmental degradation and there's no internal degradation, it's a forever battery. They said, you can't call it a forever battery. Okay, so again, it's not a forever battery. The point is, though, that we have such a leap forward. And so we were on some technical experts just the other day, and they said, what you've done is figured out how to make the sodium sulfur plus work, because sodium sulfur has been around a long time. Some of the components were first invented in the 1930s. And so again, it goes back to this conversation. I have it all the time. I said, so these guys, these people that invented this, what's up? Who are they? Right? I mean, I hear this all the time. Who are you? And do you know anything you're talking about? And so I do the same thing. I look at these guys and say, who are they and what do they know? Do they know what they're talking about? And you know what Randy Moore, he said to me? He said, they did the work. They did the work. What does that mean? That means the trial and error of overcoming failure after failure after failure after failure for 8 years to then come in and say, bam, we got an answer. And most people won't do the work. Okay. So one of the things about our company that I think we've had a long time, we do the work. We have great talent. We're driven by this purpose, right? So then when you look at the business, we're now at a point where we have mature technology that's now realizing commercial viability because we did the work. And in this case, the thing that really excites me about the battery is there was 8 years before us. Before we got involved, there was 8 years of work. And they set us up to say, let me show you. Let me show you how to do this. That's what Mario's doing, showing us how to do it. And then we get to take it from there and accelerate because the hardest work is already done, the invention, figuring out the invention. So now you got to scale, you got to figure out manufacturing, you got to get the right financing. So again, a lot of work to do. But when that article came out by The Economist, it's like, oh my gosh, a $4 trillion market in the next 14 years. And again, like I said, I look at our stats and I say, show me a battery that's got a better statistic than what we've shown. I don't know what it is. And so that doesn't mean you're home free. I'm going to say it again. It means that you've got a cornerstone to build upon, which now focuses you on other things: capital, scaled manufacturing, low defect rate, integration into a pack that becomes a battery energy system, integration of the way the system works with the grid. There's a lot of work to do, but that cornerstone becomes so powerful, especially since it's got an 8-year head start on the competition. And so to me, it's very exciting, and I think it's right in a wheelhouse of something we're going to see really become a big winner for our company and our shareholders.
So as investors, or, I'm at this point now where it's not even just investors, it's just a matter of making people aware of the technologies that exist to improve
Yeah.
quality of
Well,
life.
yeah, the skepticism is reasonable, right? I mean, I've been dealing, you gotta remember, I've been doing this a long time. So, it starts out with, who are you and is this real? I mean, I've been dealing with this for 20 years. It's like, it can't be true. It's too good. It's too good to be true. That's basically the way the market operates, right?
Right.
Get it. We get it. I understand how you get there because you get disappointed. Okay. So we understand that very well. That's fine. But we know what we know, right? So I look at it and I go, the trick is to educate the market about what the real obstacle is. The real obstacle is not necessarily the technology at this stage. because we think it's been proven sufficiently. Now we're going to validate for third party. We got to raise our credibility. The challenge is going to be, how can you produce scaled manufacturing economically without going broke? And so that's our model, is to do that. See, I look at it and I say, well, the answer is you give 81% to the guy who finances it. That's the answer. And then you do it over and over. You don't do one, you do 10. You don't do 10, you do 100. Because if every deal is like the last deal you're ever going to do, you can't function to scale. You're going to die. You're going to run out of money. Wall Street's going to eat you up. I don't like it. I don't want to do that. I've been around now a while. I'm like, no. What we need to do is give more than we take. That's what we're doing. We're giving more than we take.
Which
And
I
so
love. I love that concept. I mean, because it should make adoption much easier, right? Because it's always difficult to get the first, like getting your first deal will be the hardest.
Yeah.
Because it's got to be the right deal, right? I mean, it's got to be the right deal, the right partner. But once you get that right partner, then the other partners come very quickly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and we've in our other business units, we always talk about partnership, and we got some great partners, but we had to kiss a few frogs along the way. Okay, so it was not easy. I mean, I'm telling you, we got beat up pretty good. Okay, and we get it. Okay, so in this situation, because we've got some nice critical mass at the core company, right? We got some money in the bank. We got a decent market cap. We got more money coming. We got expansive equity growing. And then we look at this and we say, our ability to incrementally innovate in a way that most companies can't do is our special sauce. Okay. I can acquire technology and bring an entire team to bear around it that's in and out and in and out and in and out, and then recruit key core members that live it every day, right? Recruit a CEO, put a P&L together. I mean, all that sort of incubation makes it available to put a talent and an infrastructure behind it that most companies that say, I'm going to be in the battery business, it's like, how do you listen? We probably got under $2 million invested in the battery technology. Are you kidding me? Do you realize what we've done with $2 million?
Hey there, folks. Hope you're enjoying part 2 of the interview with Dennis Calvert from Biolargo, ticker symbol BLGO. If you are enjoying the interview, please do us a favor, give us a like. How about giving us a share? And while you're at it, make sure you smash that subscribe button. All of those things are extremely important to us here at Alpha Wolf Capital, and we appreciate you taking the time to do that. Until next time, stay safe. Alpha Wolf Capital wishes you the very best of success.